The Trove no scope update is going to be introduced on February the 28th, which is going to be Tuesday. This update is going to be a small update that is going to have a rework, some mounts, some allies, and some additional changes, which I will be covering all of that in this video. Now, before all of that, I just need to apologize to everyone out there. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been a little bit more inactive, and that's mainly because of some personal reason and also because I tested positive for the coronavirus. Now, I'm just going to be mentioning all of this because there might be a little bit more inactivity in the near future, because as of right now, I'm still affected by the virus, so I'm still taking a little bit chill, but I just don't want to leave everything just out of nowhere. So I might as well just do a little bit of recording so you guys at least have some information on everything that is going to be in this update. Now, let's start talking about all of the changes, starting off with the Gunslinger Changes, then going over the mounts, then the allies, and then it's going to be over all of the additional changes. With all that being said, let's get started. The Gunslinger Changes. Now, the Gunslinger, pretty much in the terms of this reward, it didn't receive pretty much any change whatsoever. For the most part, most of the changes on the Gunslinger is going to be essentially damage increase and some little changes to some properties here and there. All of the things that I did mention are going to be based on the actual patch note that we received over the past couple of weeks in the test server. Alright, so let's get started. So first of all, we are going to be going over the passive ability. The passive ability remains exactly the same way as it is on the live server. It's going to be whenever you hit an enemy while in midair, you're going to go into a slow fall. And when you do hit an enemy with any damage source, you have around a 20% chance of getting a fully charged charge shot, which will allow you to shoot the charge shot without needing to charge it completely. And that is going to be the passive ability on the live server. On the test server, it's exactly the same way. 20% chance of getting a fully charged charge shot, and the slow fall when you do hit an enemy in midair. However, the slow fall has been increase in terms of its timer from 2 seconds to 3.25 seconds. But outside of that, you can cancel out the slow fall by just performing a dodge. This is actually pretty good for the Gunslinger, because one of the problems with the Gunslinger for dungeon grinding is going to be the slow fall, so we have to wait and see how this actually affects the character a little bit in dungeon grinding. I still feel it's going to be below average, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Now, let's go over the basic attack. The basic attack has a damage increase from 1.2 times damage to 1.65 times damage multiplier, which makes it the strongest damage multiplier that the Gunslingers ever had with the basic attack. Before the Shadow Spotlight update, it was 1.33 times damage, so it's a pretty significant increase. However, the only thing is going to be that this basic attack in terms of damage output is still below average amongst all characters in the entirety of the game. It's still the second fastest basic attack in terms of statistic, in terms of how many shots that you can shoot per second, but it's still a below average damage single target basic attack that in my opinion is still going to be pretty mediocre in my eyes. Now, the charge shot is not going to no longer be called charge shot, it's going to be called charged sniper shot, and it's going to have some little extra property outside of, obviously, of course, the damage increase. So the fully charged shot had the timer decrease from 1.3 seconds to 0.8 seconds, so it charged half a second faster. The level 1 charge shot, so if you only press the ability without holding the ability, you're going to shoot the level 1, which is going to have the damage increase from 1.5 times damage to 2 times damage. The level 2 charge shot has the damage increase from 3.75 times damage to 5.25 times damage multiplier in terms of total damage. Or in other words, the direct damage is going to be from 2 times damage to 3.5 times damage, and the AoE remains exactly the same at 1.75. The level 3 charge shot has the damage increase from 6 times damage to 13 times damage. This is an incredible increase because it pretty much just makes the fully charged charge shot do more than double damage from the current live server Gunslinger. Or in other words, it's going to have the direct damage increase from 3.25 times damage to 9.5 times damage, which is a huge increase, and the AoE damage increase from 2.75 to 3.5 times damage. Additionally, when you do hit an enemy with the charge shot, you're going to apply a debuff allowing you and all players to do 10% more damage. So similar to like the Vanguard's I-Beam, which the Vanguard's I-Beam is 5%, and similar to the Revenant and all of that, but this one is going to be 10%. When you do hit an enemy with a fully charged shot, you're going to deal an additional 7.5 times damage multiplier to an enemy that is below 35% HP. So every single enemy that is below 35% HP with a fully charged shot is going to be dealing 20.5 times damage multiplier. The blast jump is going to be the next ability, which remains exactly the same way as the life server. It does the same damage as 6 times damage, and it does give you the slow fall whenever you do hit or miss an enemy. But of course the timer is going to be increased from 2 seconds to 3.25 seconds, and of course you can cancel the slow fall by just pressing the dodge button, similar to the regular passive ability. And then it's going to be lastly is going to be the ultimate ability. Run and gun is going to also remain exactly the same way, giving you a 75% increase in your total attack speed and 20 movements before 10 seconds, exactly the same way as live server against the post rework Gunslinger. However, the class gem ability, ultimate ability, has the damage increased from 6 times damage to 7.75 times damage multiplier, or in other words, from 3.25 direct to 4 times damage direct and 2.75 AoE to 3.75 AoE, which obviously of course makes the basic attack on the ultimate ability do 7.75 times damage multiplier per shot for the whole duration, which is 10 seconds. Before the shadowy spotlight, in case you are wondering, what's 7.5 times damage, so this one is 0.25 stronger than the Gunslinger at its strongest, which was before the shadowy spotlight. Still kind of mediocre, but hey, it is what it is. And also one last thing is, of course, you still get the reduction to your attack speed by 25%. That's going to be essentially everything that is on the Gunslinger. Now, let's move on over the new mounts and allies. So the new mounts are going to be found from defeating random enemies, all of them. All of them are going to be found in the rare categories, all of them are going to be called Bone Walker, and all but one grant 50 mastery points, and one of them is going to be granting 100. All of the 50 mastery points mounts are going to be tradable, and the 100 mastery point is going to be untradable. Let's move on over all of the enemies that you need to defeat. And those are the 6 new mounts. Now let's move on onto the 6 new allies. So, unlike the mounts, these allies are going to be found somewhat differently. While the mounts draw from defeating creatures, the allies are going to be buffed for a very rare NPC that spawns after you do defeat a 1-star or a 3-star dungeon objective in a very specific biome, which are going to be the Treasure Isles, the Permafrost, Candoria, or the Jurassic Jungle, and this NPC will last for 2 minutes. Now, I do not have any footage on any of these NPCs because I grinded for well over 3 hours and I didn't find any of them, so you can just expect this to be a very pain to actually find. Luckily, these allies are going to be tradable and you can only buy them once per week. And the resources in order for you to buy them, it is going to be depending on which biome that you do find the NPC. For example, if you do find an NPC in the Treasure Isles, it's going to require Golden Seashell for you to get the ally. And if I assume what are going to be all of the other resources, keep in mind this is going to be all speculation because I have no clue. The only one that I have clues is going to be in regards to the Treasure Isles. But the other biomes I'm going to assume is going to be, for the Permafrost is going to be Glacial Shards, for Candoria is going to be Wild Cupcakes, and for Jurassic Jungle is going to be Meteorite Fragments. That's going to be all 100% speculation. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Now, that's going to be all of the allies, and of course I already showcased all of the stats on every single ally, and all of the allies are going to be tradable, and all of them are going to grant 20 mastery points. And no, I do not know in which biome draw which allies, or if it is going to be a random loot table per NPC. And once again, I grinded for 3 hours, found no NPC, so you have to experiment that yourself. Now, let's move on into the additional changes. So let's start out with the delve commands. There's going to be 2 new delve commands, and one of them is going to be completely removed in the delves. So respawn can no longer be done inside the delve, so you can no longer respawn. Instead, if you want to be teleported directly to the boss, you have to type in /delve boss, all in one word, and you are going to be spawned in the boss room if you of course completed the objective in order for you to get into the boss room. And you can also just type in /delve start if you want to go into the beginning of the delve. The fishing dailies of course has been reduced across the board with the common and uncommon orders, which is going to be the common and uncommon fishes. All of them have been reduced except the rare one, which is going to be as follows. The common order, which is going to be for the common fishes, has been reduced from 85 fishes to 50 fishes. The uncommon fishes, which in my opinion is the more difficult one if you don't have any specific lords. It's got the amount of fishes reduced from 25 to 15 per quest. And that essentially is going to be everything. And yeah, that's going to be all of the fishing daily changes. And then let's move on into some of the additional changes. So chocolate fishes will no longer drop in the plasma from gathering day. So sometimes if you're in gathering day fishing in plasma, you can get chocolate fishes. So that got removed. There's going to be an option that is going to allow you to compost all items. So similar to the loot collector where you can loot collect everything, it's going to be exactly the same thing but with the compost bin. There has been some merchant improvement across the board, now displaying the proper resource that is required for a specific item that you're going to buy. So for example, if you do buy a specific item and you hover over an item, the bottom right is going to change to the currency that is going to be required for that specific item. So if you're doing the Celestial, you hover over the Celestial Sphere, it's going to show your Astral Echoes. If you're hovering over an item that costs credit, it's going to show credit, qubits, etc, etc. So yeah, that is going to be one of the things that got changed. The other thing that is going to be changed is going to be now is going to display how much time does it have until the item resets or refreshes, and how frequent does the item spawn. So if it is an item that spawns once a month, it's just going to tell you once a month. And if it spawns once a week, etc, etc. Also, of course, if you do buy it, it's just going to give you a timer on when you can buy the item once again. And lastly, it's going to be that there's going to be new NPCs around the hub, which is just going to serve as the separate categories from the store. So if you want to go into a specific category in the store, let's just say the dragon section, there's going to be an NPC that is going to be selling all of the dragon section category items. Kind of redundant considering that the store is pretty easy to navigate, but hey, there is an option, so it's kind of meh. And yeah, that's essentially a full breakdown on this update, going over all of the important details that I feel that is going to be added in this update. Of course, I didn't mention exactly everything like typos and all of that stuff, which I'll leave that in the description down below if you want to read literally everything that is going to be in this patch notes. But with all that being said, make sure to drop a like, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time. Take care and keep on hunting. See ya.